Experience the ultimate day out at the Mildura Field Days happening on May 15th and 16th at the Mildura Racecourse. Discover a vast array of exhibits, from home gardening tools to the latest in large-scale farm machinery. Explore lifestyle, leisure, home products and services, and much more. Don't miss this opportunity to learn, explore and have fun. Enjoy free entertainment, hands-on pets, live music and delicious food. Mark your calendar and join us for an unforgettable experience at the Mildura Field Days.
And welcome to the Country Telegraph. Nice to have your company. It's a very, very nice Thursday. And footy tonight too, which I'm looking forward to. If you follow AFL, you'll be hoping that both sides lose. I think it's Collingwood v Carlton. Anyway, you can't wish for a better game. Maybe they'll draw or something. How could they both lose? Have to work on that one. But thank you for joining me. And a big show today too. Some of the headlines around town at the moment, around the country at the moment, and we all know about that major fire in Geelong, at the refinery, in fact, and it's a facility which supplies half of Victoria's and 10% of the nation's fuel. And it's been blamed on equipment failure and could disrupt production for months, which is just dreadful. Couldn't happen at a better time. I used to live in Geelong and work there, and someone told me if it caught fire and went up, it would wipe out all of Geelong. Hasn't done that yet, but it's just a fire at the moment. But yeah, bad timing. Collingwood Water has won $120 million in federal funding to upgrade its 150-year-old stock and domestic channel and pipeline system that services 1,300 properties surrounding Bendigo. The 150-year-old water system loses, wait for this, a staggering 79% of supply through leaks. They need to fix that one up pretty quickly. Be like the Great Flood, wouldn't it? Fruit growers across the Goulburn Valley are reporting a generally positive start to the season, with solid demand, improving quality prospects and harvest progressing quite steadily at the moment, although rising fuel and freight costs are emerging as a significant pressure. Bega Cheese, the old cheese, Limited has notified customers it will be imposing an 8-cent surcharge on every litre and kilogram of its products to offset, which makes sense to offset the soaring fuel and packaging cost. And finally, the next generation of sheep breeders, animal nutritionalists, wool classes, pregnancy scanners, and jobs not even thought of yet have come together at the South Australian Sheep Expo. By the way, they're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. The expo does finish tomorrow. This is the Country Telegraph. And that's AgForce. We're going to talk to Shane McCarthy, who's the General President of AgForce Queensland. Now, that's a leading agricultural advocacy group, now a fifth-generation sheep, cattle and cane producer from Hughenden. Shane has extensive experience in the industry. Now, before his presidency, Shane served as AgForce's Deputy Chair and North Regional Director. He is also a Flinders Shire Councillor, actively engaging in local governance. Shane is committed to advancing Queensland's agricultural sector, focusing on infrastructure, development, biosecurity and sustainable practices. He succeeded Georgie Somerset in November 2024, bringing a wealth of knowledge and his leadership to this particular role. First of all, Shane, thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Mike. How are we?
Good. What a beautiful day.
Mate, it's a great day here too. It's not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah, I prefer it about 30. The 4X goes down faster.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It does. Well, tell me about AgForce, what you actually do and how important you are.
Yeah, so Mike, we're a Queensland-based advocacy group. So we represent broadacre. So we represent the cattle industry, the sheep, wool and goat industry. Also, we have grains and we have some cane, not all cane, but some cane that we represent. And that covers, look, we have coverage about 2/3 of the state. There's a lot of producers in there that we represent and try and get a better outcome for.
Can you sort of paint a picture for us, for those who aren't familiar with rural areas? A lot of people think you walk into the supermarket and that's where they grow the fruit and veggies and stuff like that. A couple of cattle roaming in the cool room. But tell us exactly what it's like to live in the rural areas and how we are so dependent not only on God and with these too much rain, not enough rain, too much sun, not enough sun, but we also have other things that come into play, such as government and overseas markets, don't we?
Yep, certainly. So, like, Queensland is home to the 49% of the national cattle herd. So we're big players in that area. Most of the cane and sugar cane in Australia is grown in Queensland. A lot of grains as well, and the sheep numbers are dwindling a bit, but great goat numbers are picking up. So if you've eaten something today, if you've drunk something today, if you're basically not naked, that agriculture has provided that for you. And we do that good a job of it that we actually export 70% of what we grow and produce. And we do that more environmentally friendly than anywhere else on this planet. There was a recent study that came out late last year from, I think it was Brazil, that said that Australian producers are 45% more environmentally friendly than their peers. So that's not small numbers. And we live in the driest continent on Earth as well. So look, what we do well, and we do environmentally as well.
Support's needed at the moment, for the Queensland growers or the farmers. What sort of support would that be? Cash isn't funny. We'll make a loan here, we'll do a loan here, you've got to pay it back. And cash can be that great trap. So take away the cash bit, which you'd like to earn from what you're doing anyway. What sort of support then does the industry need?
Well, at the moment, our biggest, probably our three biggest concerns are at the moment is the new changes to the EPBC Act and how that affects day-to-day running of producers, what they do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's just putting a new fence line up, whether it's ploughing another paddock or making sure the regrowth's not taking over. That's and we're working through those issues at the moment. But the one that's raised its head, that as everybody knows, is fuel and fertiliser. It's just not it's not the availability of it, and it's also the availability and the amount I can get when I need it. It's also the price of it. So the fuel costs, the price of fuel and the price of fertiliser has doubled in the last 6 weeks. And unfortunately, producers can't double the price of what they get for their commodity. We're still getting the same amount, if not. Some of our products have gone down in what we get for them. And we work on a fairly slim margin as it is. So, right at the moment, I've got producers making that decision whether what they plant, if they harvest, can I afford to harvest? Can I afford to get my, animals, if I've got to move them off breeding country and put them on fattening country, if I've got to put them in a feedlot, can I get that product to where it needs to go? Can I afford to do it, basically?
So how do we fix it? I mean, the refinery fire in Geelong would have been, you sort of think, what can go wrong now? But it's terrible. And they say it was just a mechanical failure. Maybe it's just me, but it sounds a bit suspect. I would think that we have no fuel and now we have less fuel. But if you don't get the fuel prices down, not just the fuel, but the fuel prices down, and we don't produce, we see, and I was reading somewhere where it said 25% drop in productivity. They just won't grow it. If that happens, tell us what's another word? Tell us what sort of effect that will have in the major markets when you pop into your supermarket.
Well, worst case scenario, it gets down to the fact that it won't be on the supermarket shelves. It's as simple as that. If producers can't, it's going to cost them more money than they can get back out of it, and they can't pay their bills. They just won't plant. I know guys who already have made that decision. I've got one guy who's a fairly big cropper here with some of the drought conditions and that he's got, and also the price of fuel and fertiliser. He's only planting 10% of his normal crop. That has a flow-on effect. You know, if he can't get a crop off, or the wrong type of crop going to that, then feedlots are affected. If feedlots are affected, well, then the supply of cattle, supply of pork, beef, that's all affected. So, you know, it has a knock-on effect, and it's just not small numbers either. If I can't get cattle off from where we breed them, and then I want to take them to where some country where I can fatten them, it has an effect on. We have plenty of grass. We've had some good seasons. Sometimes we've had a bit too much rain in some places. Yep. And this happened in the live export debacle way back, that we can't get cattle numbers off from where they are being bred and to where they needed to go, or there was just too many on the properties, and it caused a green drought. There just simply wasn't enough fodder there for those people. So worst case scenario is, there is no food on the shelves, or a limited supply of food on the shelves.
And you know, we talk about the end product, you know, looking after the consumers, but what about the poor bugger that has to say, can't do it this year? How does he get by? I mean, most likely as a family got his commitments, and it's then becomes another chain effect, doesn't it? Yeah.
So they've got bills to pay. They've got to put kids through school, feed kids. They also all those small communities, they rely on those agricultural industries around those small communities, and you know, if they're not making money, if they've got no money to spend, well, the small towns, they're not getting a turnover either. And also a lot of those small towns rely on the tourism sector for, you know, the great nomads coming through, and we're seeing a drop in those numbers already. Of, you know, those guys are making a decision that I just can't afford to drive around Australia this year, so those small towns are going to suffer.
I see that you're advocating for, I'll go through these, price relief mechanisms to offset baseline fuel and fertiliser costs, a farm keeper style support package for producers, financial and backing support to assist with cash flow pressures, electricity and water pricing relief, and support for processors and the broader supply chain. Have we made any progress on anything?
It's always a work in progress, and things takes time. Where the wheels of government turn slowly, but you know, the likes of advocacy groups like AgForce and others, we're in there trying to make sure that, you know, we're working with governments and both local, state and federal to try and sort some of these out. And I mean, we don't want to just go with them with problems. There's a lot of guys that work in my industry that, you know, they're some of the best and clearest thinkers around. We'll go with solutions, whether that be, you know, we need to put things like the new EPBC reforms on hold for a while, or, you know, there's a reduction in green and red tape. There is tax breaks. I mean, the last thing that producers need is another bloody loan. We've got to. You still got to pay them back, as you said before. Yep. And look, we're a proud sort of industry. We don't want handouts. We just tax breaks. You know, some reduction in the red and green, especially the green tape at the moment, would be fantastic.
If somebody wants to find out more, you have an excellent website, and I noticed all your videos and stuff, and it's fantastic. And there's one start, but it's not enough. Gives people a bit of a support mechanism, but you still want to be able to talk one-to-one, or let's get on the dog and bone and have a bit of a chat. How do they do that? How do they get hold of you? Just for example, to have a conversation, say, look, it's really getting tough. I don't know what to do with myself, because the first thing is to actually talk to someone.
Yeah, exactly. Don't just bottle it up. Talk. Pick up a phone. Talk to somebody. Like you said, the website we've got. So you know, you can get hold of us. My number's available for anyone to pick up a phone and ring, or one of our board members or one of our staff. They're only too willing to you know, hear the problems, try and work some solutions out, and you know, we will get through this. We have before, but it's just a matter of trying to find some solutions to the problems. And we have been saying it for a while that we do have, sovereign risk. There was a report that the federal government did a couple of years ago, I think it came out, a green paper, that stated in that paper that agriculture needed to be put on the same footing as the likes of defence and all those. It's a vitally important industry. I mean, people get terribly hungry and terribly cold without the agriculture industry.
They certainly do, and I have to say, your videos, when I was looking through those before, I thought, a second look at it, I thought, my God, George Clooney, and it was you.
Highly doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Look, I'm being nice to you. I'm being nice to you, all right? Give me a break. Just being warm and fuzzy. No, but you're doing a great job, and I've got to tell you, it's a very tough life. We haven't even talked about the middleman yet. Yeah. They used to make my dad, shudder in his gumboots. That's another story. Shane, thank you so much for your time. We will do more of these. We ran a spot before you came on, which you saw. So anything we can do to help, you just need to reach out to us, and whatever we can do to help the industry, help the people, help Australia, because that's what it's all about. And could you imagine, I mean, you don't live in the cap city, but imagine walking in, the wife walking into a supermarket and seeing one lettuce or something. I mean, can you imagine the furore at home? It would be pretty wild, wouldn't it? Where's the food?
I could, and I don't want to go through that. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. That's why we have jobs and we go to the office. It's much simpler. Shane McCarthy, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, sir. This is the Country Telegraph. Okay, we just heard from the General President of AgForce Queensland here on the Country Telegraph. Now let's talk to someone who knows. Goondiwindi is a regional town in Queensland, Australia, situated on the Macintyre River border with New South Wales. It's located around about 350 km southwest of Brisbane and serves as a major agricultural hub and junction for 6 highways. 6. Didn't know we had that many. Often referred to as the gateway to the outback. The Honourable Councillor Lawrence Springborg has more than 3 decades of service in Queensland public life. He currently serves as Mayor of Goondiwindi Regional Council and has held some senior ministerial portfolios, including health and natural resources. Now, Lawrence is a former leader of the Queensland National Party, a very good leader, in fact, the inaugural leader of the merged Queensland Liberal National Party, LNP, and served 3 terms as leader of the opposition. His extensive parliamentary experience and continued relationships in Queensland provide cornerstone clients with practical and strategic insights at both state and regional levels. Now, Lawrence is also a member of the Order of Australia and a 4th generation Queenslander. So we're going to be talking about all sorts of things that Lawrence can help us with. Got to welcome to our cameras or to his laptop the Honourable Councillor Lawrence Springborg. Welcome, Councillor.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mike. It's fantastic to be with you, and thank you very much for that very generous introduction, going through sort of a potted history of my past.
I wasn't sure if I had to bring a knee pad to bow down to.
No.
You've done so many good things, and we actually spoke. Would have been, I think, years and years ago. We had a business show, and you came on and chatted, and I thought, wow, what an impressive person. So thank you. And we played before also the promotional video for Goondiwindi. First of all, how do you pronounce the bloody place?
Well, look, most people say Goondiwindi. If you really don't know, you say Goondiwindi. Okay, and there is a fair school of thought from traditionalists that it's Goondiwindi, right? But I say Goondiwindi. Okay, so you're very close in your introduction before, very, very, very close. But just don't say Goondiwindi, which some people don't emphasise that, and you didn't. So you're right on.
Well, I used to work in bush radio, and you could always tell the new people in the area that they got nothing right.
Well, it's fraught, and we can all do that. I mean, in my time in public office, I travelled around a lot of Queensland. It's quite interesting when you travel around Queensland for the best part of 3 decades. Now I'm domiciled in my wonderful council area of Goondiwindi Regional Council, 19,000 square kilometres, just under 11,000 residents. But I'd be all over the place, Cape York, right around. And you have to be very, very, very careful with the nuance of the language around the local towns. And if you got that wrong, if you emphasise this word or that sort, people go, you really don't know, do you? And people are extremely parochial about those things, and they judge very harshly, and so they should. So
Yeah, it's a. I think when they created all these areas throughout Australia, they're having a bit of a chuckle themselves.
That's right.
Tell us about how critical at the moment it is for the bush.
Well, look, I think your previous guest, Shane, basically summed it up. I mean, we spend a lot of time dry in Queensland, in Australia. Dorothea McKellar many, many years ago, who wrote Droughts and Flooding Rains, and ironically did so when she was spending time in England. It was actually missing Australia and its extraordinary variances. But I think that told the tale of the reality of what we live with, well over 100 years ago. I was with the Minister for Primary Industries, the Honourable Tony Perrott, only a couple of days ago in Goondiwindi, and he told us the reality of what's happening in this state. 77 local governments, some 60 of them, have some form of disaster declaration around flooding. And yet where we are on the southern border area, we're seriously drying out at the moment. We've had 5 exceptionally good seasons, which has created in the minds of many of us a new reality, which is probably quite unusual. And now it's basically drying out. So you've got that, and then you've got the circumstances in North Queensland, of course, where they're going through just being blocked off, they've lost livestock, those sorts of things. And we're struggling with planting rains. We're on the tail end or in the middle of what is is a fantastic cotton picking at the moment. The quality is amazing because of the dry weather. But if you look over the horizon into next year, there's really no water allocation. And if you look at the western part of our council area at the moment, you would expect that this week or next week, some of those people are going out towards Torwood and further west would be planting their winter crop. But that won't be happening unless they go dry. And that's, of course, very risky because we just haven't had the planting rain. So people are starting to destock. And yet only a few months ago, we're coming off the back of 5 fantastic seasons. But we've got a confluence of unfortunate circumstances with the drying out at the moment, the destocking. Things are still quite positive because of we're coming out of that period, but this fuel price and this tumult and chaos in the Middle East has just thrown everything out. I mean, fuel pricing, we're seeing $3.20 routinely for diesel. That is the main fuel used in our area for commuting or for agriculture transport. So that's quite extraordinary. That's impacting upon people's confidence in so many ways and their investment decisions as well. Fertiliser, you're looking up around $1,600, $1,700 a tonne for urea. So you've got all of those things, and agriculture being a price taker, not a price maker. And council shares in those concerns. We share in those realities because we use a lot of diesel. 70% of our workforce is outdoors. So we've got thousands of kilometres of roads we look after. We've got the reality of all of the things that we do, and a lot of the stuff we use is petrochemical based. PVC pipe, household pipe, 4-inch pipe at the moment. It's basically been all bought up, and it looks like that'll go up 30, 40, 50% asphalt. So we're all in this I wish we couldn't say we're all in this together, but we really, really are. So, we're at one with our community. We're a very proud agricultural community. We've got a very, very strong agricultural base, just short of $1 billion in what is reported in agricultural commodities. It's what side of bread, our bread's buttered on, and we do everything we can to support it. And the tourism side of things as well, which is our other source of income, and things will be tough there, I think. But we're doing what we can to continue to make ourselves livable, and you saw it in that amazing video before.
It is amazing. It looks such a beautiful place.
It is.
I have driven through it, heading towards Mildura, of all places, which is, my dad always referred to Mildura as being the last stop before hell.
I'm not going there. I could get myself into more trouble than I would normally get myself in. No, and of course you'd be going that way because we are the confluence of all these major highways, and we're the busiest interstate freight route in and out of Queensland at Goondiwindi, believe it or not. So it's 1,600 odd trucks a day. So that's where a lot of people come and go from Queensland.
Do you think, you worked in the big smoke, do you think politicians really understand, and it's always said, they don't understand, but do you think they actually really understand that what happens in the bush, especially with the growers and those on the land, if they have trouble, then you're going to find it will just be a follow-on process, that it will, go to the supermarket, there's going to be not much there. You'll find the cost of goods and services will go up. And then, often you hear, we should have done something, or we'll do something now, but it's a bit late. You don't just plant something and it grows instantly. So do you think they actually understand, or do you think it's sort of like we always blame the Weather Bureau if it rains, it's just part of Australia to blame something, except ourselves. But do you think, though, that the politics really understand?
Well, look, I left school when I finished grade 10, and I went and became a farm labourer, so I'm of the land. And my father, he grew up, he was of the land, really of the land. And I used to say to him in the middle of a good season, Dad, I say, this is amazing, isn't it? And he said, don't get used to it. And so there was all these realities from all of these experiences that people went through and their adaptation at that time, and it was pretty hard, pretty tough. So I think unless you've been through those things, you don't have a real understanding. But I think, to be fair, for those people who represent their people, they're just as passionate as what I was, but they understand different things. And that's the reality. And I think as we become increasingly urbanised and people don't have those connections, they don't truly understand the lived reality. And when we have a diminishing proportion of our population living in rural areas, that becomes even more deeply profound to make people understand, because you can never understand what you can never understand. And you might think, what sort of an answer is that? But that's the actual answer, unless you're living it every single day. But it's when, you know, the freight doesn't run, when the trains don't run, you know, when you can't get food, those sorts of things bring home the reality. You only need to see what happens now in supermarkets, and it's not just in cities. When you get a warning of a storm or a weather event, basically the shelves are stripped bare because people don't put things into perspective. Things are serviced so well compared to our parents and grandparents, and you know, imagine if that happened because things dried up or we had real supply chain problems. What would be the reality? So, look, I think making people aware of the realities is a real challenge. When you're trying to discuss and argue with the majority, back to Shane's point before, changes to the Environmental Protection Biodiversity Conservation Act, they have been profound. They have left people who were given an element of certainty by previous government contracts, for example, property maps of accessible vegetation, completely up in the air. They were told by government, you're right to do this, manage your property. Now we've got a different level of government taking it away based on a political whim driven by Greens who don't understand the lived reality of trying to manage a property somewhere and just dealing with feral animals, pests, weeds, and all of those sorts of things that go to running running an agricultural economy. So we're going through it at the moment with the Murray-Darling Basin Review, which is a statutory review. I mean, water is life in so many ways. Our investment in water, our dams and our weirs have made an extraordinary difference and given certainty in water when we would never have it otherwise, and made the Murray-Darling one of the most productive places in the entire world. Yet we have the risk of political decisions that take away people's lives and livelihoods because they don't truly understand the lived reality on the ground. So it's a constant, it's a constant challenge to try to break through that and argue it in a way that people can understand that don't live it every day, and they're not going to take up the cudgels and argue something that they've spent so much time conditioning people to believe is not good or is a threat. So to unpick all of the realities that they've created is wrong. They're not going to do that. That's the problem we've got.
Yeah, and I find that the many people underestimate how committed to the environment those on the land are, because if they bug it up, they're in trouble. They're not going to have any business.
100%.
But we have if you look at the Murray-Darling Basin review, and the farmers, I think the Farmers Federation in Victoria have come out and said that it's made no difference, but except it's made it harder for those who rely on the water. What can we do to fix it? I mean, do we need to throw in a bit of common sense?
Well, I think if we applied common sense, lived experience and reality and a true understanding of the nature of Australia's ephemeral waterways, and that is that they generally spend more time dry than they do wet, then we wouldn't be in this particular predicament. For example, before the town weir went in Goondiwindi many decades ago, there was just no water in the town reach. The council had to dig a muddy old channel in the 1940s. And that was the reality of the river. And that was before all the development along the way. That was the state of the Murray-Darling. If you look at the Murray-Darling, you had the paddle steamers around Burke. They were stranded for 3 years in the 1880s because the river dried up and the termites ate the bottom out of them. But that was the lived reality. You can't even tell that to people who don't live in those areas, don't have a practical understanding, because they have been given this perception that we're all these wild rivers and with minus snow-capped mountains, and they run happily, perpetually, all of those sorts of things. That's not the reality of semi-arid areas. And our development have made prosperity, and we can live and we can have thriving communities like you've just seen from our wonderful video of Goondiwindi, and all this prosperity, the food and the fibre and all of those things which go with that. And so it's a real problem. And what it has done, and the Victorian Farmers Federation is right, it's had a real impact on the psychology of people, because they just get so badgered from constant reform. And I appeared before the Productivity Commission in Goondiwindi 3 years ago when they were taking evidence around this. And I said that all of these decisions should be based on evidence and they should be considered against the economic impact that they have had. What has been the real impact? To measure the reality of what's happened on the ground, because no one has done that properly. It's just take this amount of water. It's a figure that you can put up there, on a blackboard or something or other. But it doesn't make any real difference in the overall context. And a lot of these things, you've got to manage water well. I'm not saying you shouldn't have to do that, but it's been the impact. We've got people that make investment decisions now to move to other parts of Australia, Central, North Queensland, West Australia, and even invest in agriculture overseas in places like Uzbekistan, because they're a long way behind us and they need our technology and our reality. So that's the consequence of having these decisions not based on reality and science and understanding of the socio-economic impact. And that's why we've said, please only make changes where you can justify them, not for the sake of, politics and appeasement.
Yeah, what we need is you back into politics. You need
No,
to
I'm
be
done. Happy to be mayor of Gundy. I've done that. Been there.
No, but we actually do need common sense, and I've always been a conservative voter, but I have to tell you, probably not this time. I mean, although it is changing a bit because I do like Matt Canavan. But if you look at the prior to that, it was very hard to differentiate between the left and the right, and it was becoming very woke. And that's what I meant before about a dose of reality, and you elaborated on that. We do need a bit of common sense, and even though we may have ideas that are truly shows you that the education system has bombed out, we need to look at it as it is, and you need to be very have a lot of common sense, and you need to not be influenced by woke propaganda. There you are. I'll get shot down for that one.
It's true. It's unreality. I mean, we live in a world where we educate people to the highest level possible. If you look at our industry, but I think we've devalued really critical thinking. And it's interesting how they say, critical thinking only applies in our learning institutions at the moment. I think what we're seeing is more and more groupthink that's coming out of those, because if you don't comply, you end up being marked down. You end up being sidelined. And I think that is a really, really big challenge. It's often hard to stand up against people who want to argue against the learned reality on the ground in the experiences that people have, because they talk down to them. And the closer you're connected to the land and the day-to-day reality of what it is to survive, the more understanding you have of those things. I remember years ago, my dad bought me a welder. He couldn't weld. He said, well, look, if you break it, you got to fix it. You got to learn how. You just can't go and get a new one. You've got to make do with what you've got, because you just can't. Now we just go and get a new one. We just go and whatever falls out of thin air, whatever the case may be, And from me, I've grown up with a practical understanding of that connection. You have limited resources, and you've got to make do. Okay, and make decisions on real experience and proper information, not just, sometimes going with the mob.
I totally agree. We have run out of time. I could talk to you for hours. You'd have to buy the beer.
Come out. We actually have a local brewery now, so maybe you can come out to Gundy and we can do that. So we can host you in Gundy. So I look forward to doing that and catching up with you in the future.
Anything for beer and a snagger. But without flies, please. If somebody wants to get hold of you, how do they do that?
Look, they can get a hold of me through the Goondiwindi Regional Council. My phone number's on the World Wide Web. It's available for anyone to ring me anytime. So just go on our website. It's there, under the Mayor, Lawrence Springborg, and you call me. I'm not a Facebooker. I'm not a Twitterer or Extra or whatever they call it now. You won't find me there. Send me a text, phone me. I will call you back if I don't pick up straight away. So that's the simple reality. I do that all the time. That's what I said in my inaugural message when I was elected. You won't find me on social media. Ring me. Okay, there you go. So I'm a bit of a dinosaur, aren't I? So that's how I basically. We do have that on council, we do have our council website and our Facebook, but for me, that's the way that I like to do it. So, and I'm sitting in my office in Inglewood today. I do the same in Texas, in Gundy. We get out and about, have appointments whenever you want to have appointments. So contact, well, ring us, come and see us. No worries.
Good on you. The Honourable
No worries.
Councillor Lawrence Springborg, Mayor of Goondiwindi. How's that? Better?
It was good. You had it right in the first place.
Thank you. Well, you've confused me. I don't know. I'll have to have a couple of scotches tonight to work this one out.
Yeah.
Lawrence,
You're very, very close. Don't overthink it.
good on you. Thank you, Lawrence Springborg. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
This is the Country Telegraph.
Australia's biggest outback music festival is back. From the 20th to 22nd of August 2026, the Broken Hill Mundi Bash returns for 3 epic days under the wide open skies of the outback. Get ready for a massive lineup featuring the Teskey Brothers, John Stevens, John Butler, Boy and Bear, Baby Animals, Jessica Mowboy, The Whitlams, Leo Sayer, Tim Finn, Richard Clapton, Troy Cassadaly, Chocolate Starfish, Furnace and the Fundamentals, 1920 and many more. It's more than a festival, it's a one-of-a-kind adventure. Camp out on the red dirt plains of the iconic Mundi Plains, just beyond Broken Hill, and experience a truly unforgettable family and dog-friendly festival. The Mundi Bash. Tickets on sale now.
Got broken sternum and 4 broken ribs.
To me, the RFDS is a very good help for not only Anango, but everybody in the outback. Dentist is just one of them.
You know, I said goodbye to people in my head.
Sort of worked out pretty quickly I wasn't going to be able to deal with it by myself, knowing that airstrip had to get sorted out so the RFDS could land safely,
We got this Royal Flying Doctor. To me, it's arrogant, it's really good support. We're sort of supporting each other, make things a better community here.
I felt like it hadn't happened, I felt like I was fine. I was in a lot of pain. My head and my eyes just throbbing. And then seeing it in the mirror, I was like, oh my God.
Thanks for joining us. This is the Country Telegraph. Behind me we have Goondiwindi, or Goondiwindi as Lawrence said. My producer's disagreeing with me, but he did say it. So there you are. Now we want to learn something about our stunning merino industry, and there's no one better to talk about that than Ben Duxon. Now he's the proprietor of Glendamar Multi-Purpose Merinos, a 5th generation of his family to breed merinos at Manu in Victoria's Wimmera region. We also want to learn about Glendamar Farm, for that matter, accredited as a wild lamb producer. The farm is an independent family enterprise with a commitment to caring for animals and protecting the ecological diversity of the landscape. Now, when you purchase wild lamb, you can be confident you're receiving Australia's finest lamb delicacy while supporting food-producing families practicing ecologically sustainable farming. Now, is this part of a food revolution that's been too slow gathering steam? I think so. And we've been featuring many people on to talk about, changing things, making things better for the environment, better for the animals, better for your own health. First of all, Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good. Now, tell me about about Glendamar, and tell me about your methods of farming, because we've had all week people coming on talking about bypass supermarkets if you can, go to your local butcher or go to markets and stuff like that and start supporting those on the land directly. What's the difference, and how's the industry changing?
No, we've bred for a long time on Australian breeding values, so we actually can measure the breeding values for eating quality nowadays. It'd be nice to get a bit more feedback on that, though. There's only one abattoir, which is Goondiwindi Meats in Australia, that actually gives you individual feedback, so we can actually get now that sort of stuff. We do enter competitions or trials or things like that. We've got Lambex coming up where we've supplied lambs for that as well. So there is a real movement around protein and the younger generation starting to look after themselves and demanding high quality products. So meat products and sheep meat. Sheep meat's not well known around the rest of the world except for here in Australia and produced. So we really have no competitors now except for New Zealand, who are lightening off all the time. But the current price increase has been demand driven, and we're about to enter a supply driven case scenario as well. So the Americans have got a big taste for it as well. So all about those people that are looking for high protein, looking to look after themselves, and certainly enjoy the taste of quality lamb.
What we need to do is send Sam Kekovich over there with one of those. I mean, they would be saying, I don't know what he's saying, but it sounds interesting.
100%. Sam's really good. His ads really have a real cut through in all of Australia, which is fantastic. The Australia Day Lamb campaigns have been very well received in Australia here, but overseas there's some growing support for the lamb industry, and Australian producers are rising to that. There's certainly a lot being done on the breeding side of it.
What about this fuel crisis? And you see in Geelong, which will affect diesel. The refinery there, kaboom.
If we were looking for a worst case scenario, this would probably be it, wouldn't it? So we're already in a government-induced fuel and fertiliser and energy crisis, and here we go. They're making it even more extremely difficult. So these things obviously can be solved by Australians, but our policies leading up to now have been nothing but a disaster for Australian farmers. We're an energy-rich country, we're a fuel-rich country, and we shouldn't be the ones going through any sort of pain at the moment. If we had policies in place, we certainly wouldn't be in the position we are now.
How is the industry right now?
The sheep industry, we're talking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic at the moment. Wool prices have even gone up as well. So in all this turmoil, but it's evening out. So 2 or 3 years ago, prices really depressed, and we were getting about $15 for good carcass merino ewes that were 25 to 30 kilos. So that sort of product now is making between $200 and $300, and lamb sort of similar in going up in value and percentage wise. So wool's gone up as well. So the world does need the protein side of things. The supply side's about to kick in. So there's been a couple of droughts, there's been low prices, so people have got out of the industry, and then there's obviously the live sheep export trade has been knocked on the head by the Labor government in Western Australia. So all those factors have meant that the supply is about to kick in. It's all the price signals have been on demand, so now supply is going to go in. So it's going to be an interesting time in the next few months to see where they do get their lambs from.
Because you can't beat a lamb risole with some coriander. I've got to tell you, it's magnificent with a glass of red to wash it down.
Get the recipe out there, Mike.
Yeah, but you got to have it. I mean, look at Sam Kekovich. We want to grow up big and strong like Sam, not
100%.
Hey, tell me about ecological farming. I always think, because I am from the land, and that looked around us. And besides being chased by my dad wanting to box my ears, farmers are very, very, very concerned about the environment, because if they don't look after their land, they're stuffed. So what's the difference between what has been done and what you're talking about here in ecologically sustainable farming?
Yeah, so this comes on the wool sort of side of things. So when we were facing backlash to the mulesing debate, and it still does happen here in Australia, and it's a real hindrance to our industry. But we were 2000 when we last muled, so 25 years ago, quarter of a decade. And the wool brands wanted to make sure that everything that the wool producer was doing was sustainable and ecological and all that sort of stuff. So there's quality assurance programs out there now. So Responsible Wool Standard standards. New Zealand Merino have just changed their name, have got a ZQ standard as well, and they're not overly hard. They make your business better anyway. Is that you're documenting what you're doing with your fertilisers, with your how you go animal welfare and all that sort of stuff. So not very hard to do, but certainly the way the world wants to go is to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and we can do that. So we tick that box, and it certainly does give us a little bit of premium on the wool sort of side of it, and it'll probably come down the lamb track as well.
You did a bad thing before. You mentioned how great it was. You should never do that, because politicians be going, "Oh, really?"
That's it.
We have to put our hand out for a little more, but they don't understand that. A great year now and maybe next year, but you'll have some bad years too.
Well, I tell everyone, and everyone's about the same, that we were all playing catch up. We fed through the drought here for 2 years constantly, so at pretty good prices, and then the price for the lamb wasn't very good. So this is only just catch up, and that's all we are at the moment. And then we need to make sure it's a sustainable industry right through to the future.
Just thinking of all the ads with lamb. This is how old I am. There used to be the one. Tom Cruise was coming over for a Sunday night because you had lamb.
Yep.
I think they were trying to pull the wool over our eyes for that one. Ben, if somebody wants to find out more about what you do and all about your farm and stuff, and maybe have a bit of a natter, or better still, buy you a beer, how do they do that?
Just Glendamar MPM on the internet there, and you'll find links to what we get up to there. So, no, thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. This is the Country Telegraph.
Our mantra has always been, we are here to softly promote and softly build up all of the winemakers of the region to say, hang on, what you do is great, what you produce is fantastic, and what we drink is well worthy of anything, anywhere, not just in Australia, but around the world.
I'm planting varieties from Cyprus, which is amazing, and looking at doing other Greek varietals too. So I think by doing this, it's really going to keep our culture strong here in Australia, because obviously we're very far away from Greece.
I then got the opportunity to make wines that I thought were suited to this region, and then put a little bit of finesse in, oak treatments, etc., to make them softer and more approachable wines.
It's pretty cool to be able to provide high value wines at those lower price points.
There's certainly quite a few of our varieties that you probably wouldn't find elsewhere in Australia. If you do, it's probably from our grapes.
A Riverland wine is above and beyond what you'll find anywhere else.
You know, the whole objective was to be proud of the region we're from, so Riverland is stamped clearly on the bottle and always will be.
There's a lot of positivity amongst the smaller winemakers, passion and pride in what they're doing. They love to showcase the region. It's a wonderful region.
Yeah, I think, people will be pleasantly surprised by what they get out of the Riverland.
Buy Australian made, and you're backing local jobs, a stronger economy, and the way we live right here. Australian made right here.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. I keep wanting to call it the Country Practice. That's how old I am. I'm sure James also recalls that show. It was very sad at the end, I thought. Maybe it was just the acting. James Burke is a farmer and proprietor of BB Harvesting, a premier provider of grain harvesting services, servicing the east coast of Australia. James has also been involved in Farmers Fight Back, which is challenging bad planning and legislative overreach that threatens to destroy viability of Australian agriculture. We're going to find out all about what's happening with the Vic Grid demanding access to farmland in Victoria. And also, James might be able to give us an update on that refinery fire in Geelong, which is a bit of a shocker. and what short-term impact that it will have on fuel and diesel. I could probably answer that already. It has enormous impact because 50% of the fuel for Victoria is going to stop. Isn't that right, James?
Yes, that is correct. So I've just reached out today to my local fuel supplier, just that we're in the mix of cranking right up with our cropping program. So, you know, we're at the height of the fuel use that we use, so just checking to see how supply is going. And basically he said the interruption's massive because the trucks that were, pulling fuel out of Geelong today had to be redirected to Melbourne. And of course that ends up in a big log of trucks to try and get this fuel out. So the fuel initially coming out of Melbourne would have been set to be dropped off across country and rural Victoria, and now there are backlog with trucks trying to get fuel out. So of course, as we know, supply and demand, the demand's huge and the supply is held back now trying to get to us in the country.
Oh, that's incredible. So what do they expect you to do? Get out the bullock?
Well, that's the issue. So back when Chris Bowen was saying that, we're all grabbing fuel and taking in excess, farmers need to have this amount of fuel weekly to keep themselves going. And when supply is held up and farmers are getting low, well, the only thing is to stop, which completely stops our production.
It's incredible, isn't it? The government's been pretty average at the moment on many fronts. Tell us about VicGrid.
Yeah, so VicGrid, obviously, this is probably, I suppose we all know about VNI West. We've probably all heard about that. Mm-hmm. But VicGrid obviously hitting us farmers up, trying to gain access to our land at the moment on ecological studies. They've changed the laws. I think it was March the 11th, changed the laws to give themselves more powers to compulsory acquire our land to come on to do these studies. They keep spruiking that they want voluntary access, but we all know that it's not that. Probably the biggest part of it is as we know, us farmers, we're honest people. We're here to do an honest day's work for an honest day's living. And we've got people that are CEOs of companies that are standing up and saying stuff that is completely untrue. Alistair Parker this week, spruiking that 170 farmers along the line have signed up, which is completely incorrect. Just to put it into perspective, I've got 9 kilometres of that transmission line, and a proposed transmission line. I'm an absolute no, which equates to around 6.5 to 7% of that line. Now, for him to say that 170 farmers along the line have signed up, it's just this. They keep spruiking this misinformation, this new word misinformation that keeps getting put out there. We know where it comes from. It definitely comes from a government that's actually trying to force themselves through without proper consultation and a proper engagement with us farmers who are, as I said before, we're honest people, providing a living, providing our part of Australia's future, food and fibre for what we need to survive.
Yeah, it's the old story, isn't it? They don't understand. And we had Kevin Butler on before from an organisation that looks after putting up fences and stuff like that. I've just forgotten it. I'll think of him later. But he was saying that the volunteers, when they pop out to help, and they're there for 12, 14 days, Blaze Aid, that's what it's called. And he said there's a bit of a shock for a lot of them because they're actually out in the bush basically, and putting up new fences and doing what you blokes do all the time. And maybe the same thing should happen to those in Spring Street. They should probably pop out to a large farm, probably February, maybe late December, maybe.
Absolutely.
And just a couple of weeks on that, I think they would change their tune. Because how the hell do they expect you to get by? And to come onto your property, if you had a shop in Glen Iris and someone said, I'm going to come in there and do that, you'd say, bugger off. You can't do that.
That's exactly right. And that's the part that's going to happen is the laws have been changed to take our rights away. This is going to happen in the cities. The cities' rights for the same laws that have been changed, it's going to happen. It's been changed. Legislation's been changed. So they're not just coming for us, they're coming for everybody. And, you know, it makes you feel pretty tough that a government can actually go and be a dictatorship like they have and actually change a law to suit their agenda. Where, as you know, if you went out and took a vote across Australia, whether they thought this was the right thing to do, I guarantee they fail. Pretty similar to The Voice.
Yeah, I think they would. But look at that. I mean, Australia said no, we don't want it. And the state government said, can't stop us. We're going to do what we want to do.
Exactly. That's the point we're making, is it doesn't matter what's said by us as the public. They're supposed to be there to serve and do what's right by the public. They're on their own agenda to run their own programs, as we know what it's for, snouts in the trough. They're chasing their own agenda. Political parties trying to, gather backdoor money for themselves. We all know what the reason is.
And if you look at your current government, to the CFMU, I'll write you a check, about 30 billion. You blokes don't even get a. I won't go there, but you don't get much. All they want to do is run you into the ground. What do you have planned? Because the community itself would be really, really pretty grumpy at all this, wouldn't it?
Well, we've set this this group called Farmers Fight Back, and Farmers Fight Back is gaining traction. It's absolutely flying at the moment. Any sort of thing that goes on, any sort of media, people are just jumping on board. I think we're around 25 to 26,000 people, and it's growing by the day. People actually putting up money in support to come and help, volunteers on that Farmers Fight Back saying, we'll be at the gate to support you. So where we were back last year, where we had, 300, 400 people turning up at the gate, we're potentially having the position to be, we're in the position to have 5,000 to 6,000 people wanting to come. And I don't know how we'd coordinate that out on our little roads and with all the potholes we have, trying to get that sort of amount of traffic through to help. But it's definitely been seen, and people are realising, what is actually happening. So the media is actually starting to work on our side for sure. Social media extremely well.
Yeah, but look at legacy media, because they get looked after by various governments, and they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. Is Farmers Fight Back going to go national?
Farmers Fight Back, yes, absolutely. So we've put that out right across Victoria. We've got people on board from Queensland, Western Australia, up into Northern Territory. So it is national now. It's on online. You can look it up, Farmers Fight Back. Read all the stuff that's on there. It is for an amazing cause. It's a grassroots movement. It's as I said, gaining traction, and it's honest people doing an honest day's work for Australian people. We're there for the public. We're there to support them. That's what we do. We're in our local communities. Farmers, what they do with their spare money is sponsoring local communities. Bowls, golf, football, tennis clubs, everything involved in our local communities. We actually are, the backbone of the country.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If somebody wants to find out more about Farmers Fight Back and also about James Burke, maybe not that part, just stick with Farmers Fight Back. How do they do that?
So you can look it up online, Farmers Fight Back. It's it'll come up with a petition that you can go online and sign. It's quite easy. You just follow the prompts, jump on board, have a read of it all. You can actually have a read through it all and see what's going on. And I'm sure once you look at it, you'll start seeing all our social stuff through your phone. They seem to know what you talk about. It'll all come up and you'll see what's going on.
They're listening. Look, thank you very much for your time. Just quickly, you'd be a Collingwood supporter, wouldn't you?
No, St Kilda. Yeah, I've had a tough upbringing, actually, really tough. But we'll stick with them. I'm hoping I'll get to see the next premiership.
I'm a St Kilda supporter. Do I look hopeful to you?
Yeah. Well, look. Anyway, we're looking a lot better this year. Ross is kicking a score.
They look beautiful. They are so handsome. But they can't play. I mean, although we had a very good win last week, which again,
we did. Yeah, if we can kick a score, it's worth watching. I quite enjoy seeing a score being kicked.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and those terrible Port Adelaide. I mean, truly, how do they get out of jail? I mean, I don't know. It's like Collingwood, and you've got to have the bad eggs amongst you, I suppose.
That's right.
James, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. If we can do anything to help, by the way, just let us know, because our pleasure. If they don't look after the farmers, the major markets are dead. Simple.
Absolutely, and thank you for reaching out. It's been great. We'll keep up the fight and thank you.
And go Saints. Okay, that's almost it. We're going to check out the weather now, and I'll come back after the weather, and we'll find out how in your area the temperature might be tonight or tomorrow.
Hello from the Bureau of Meteorology. I am Angus. This is the National Weather Forecast. We're going to take a look at Friday's weather across the nation. And there are some large empty areas of our map, and in meteorological terms that means broad regions with clear skies and sunshine around Australia for Friday. But there are some weather systems around the periphery to keep a watch of. In the north we've got some remaining moisture from ex-tropical cyclone Mila continuing to fuel thunderstorms in parts of the territory. For the southeast we've got this strong cold wintry wind flow hitting parts of Tasmania, Victoria and New South Wales. And in the southwest we have another cold front which is going to be heading towards Perth right at the end of the day on Friday. Let's fly around the states, and most of Queensland will have clear, bright, sunny skies and warm temperatures, including Brisbane tracking for a high of 31 degrees without any strong winds. There will be some rain in the west with showers and storms from Longreach out toward Mount Isa, particularly getting going through the afternoon and into the evening, and a few scattered showers across the Cape York Peninsula as well. Down through New South Wales, northern and western parts of the state will have really bright, sunny and warm conditions with temperatures about 5 degrees above average. When it comes to rainfall, the action is all on the east coast from about Newcastle down towards the Victorian border. Now for this stretch, including Sydney and Wollongong, the morning will actually be quite bright, sunny and warm. In the afternoon we'll see a cold wind change slide northwards, so that will do a few things. Temperatures will drop, the wind will pick up during the afternoon, and we'll see the arrival of some showers and thunderstorms as that wind does change as well. There is even the possibility of some severe thunderstorms as we head late afternoon into the evening time period for Sydney and Wollongong that could bring some wind or hail damage. To Victoria, quite a cool day across the state here. If you scan around all the temperatures here, they're pretty much all in the teens with the exception of Mildura tracking up towards 21 degrees. There'll be a fairly firm westerly wind blowing across Victoria tomorrow, and there will be some showers as well. Now showers could hit anyone along the south coast from Warrnambool and Portland all the way out here to the east of Gippsland. Possible showers around Melbourne and pushing up towards the eastern ranges as well. Now while that's a pretty large area, no one is expecting to get heavy falls, so it will just be low rainfall totals. A really windy day across Tasmania on Friday. In fact, we've already got damaging wind warnings in place for these gusts as they could be pushing 90 or 100 kilometres an hour, including in the southeast around the Hobart area, as well as parts of central, eastern and northeastern Tasmania where those winds could really be blowing through strongly. Showers will be persistent in the west and about the mountains, with some people getting between 10 and 30 millimetres. Hobart could get a light shower or two, but perhaps just 1 or 2 millimetres total. Southern parts of South Australia will have quite a cloudy day on Friday, or at least passing cloud cover, and that does include in and around Adelaide. Keep an eye on the temperatures. We see low 20s from Whyalla, grading towards the high teens down in Mount Gambier, and this whole region is on the cool side of average. Further north and further west it is much warmer and sunnier. There won't be much rain across South Australia on Friday, but a couple of light showers possible from Murray Bridge down to the very far south. The morning and actually most of the afternoon will be quite bright for southern parts of WA. There will be some sunshine, temperatures will be pleasant, and increasing cloud coverage will move overhead through the day. But it's not until the evening when we're likely to see the arrival of some rainfall as this cold front finally reaches the far west coast of the state towards the last few hours of the day. Then we'll finish off with Perth, Margaret River, the southwestern corner, all seeing some rain on Friday night, possibly after 9 p.m, and heading into the start of the weekend. Further north from Geraldton up to the Pilbara, it will remain bright, sunny and clear. And the wet season is not done yet. There will be scattered showers and storms right across the top end, all the way from Arnhem Land across to Darwin. And in fact, the wet weather could dip down into the Carpentaria and Barkly regions in towards central parts of the territory. That's quite a stark contrast to what's going on in northern WA, where it's bright, sunny and dry through the Kimberley and Pilbara, and it is very dry through Australia's red centre as well. That's what I've got for you for today. I will be back this time tomorrow with the weekend update. But until then, more weather info can be found on the BOM website or the BOM weather app. And thank you so much for watching.
And that's about it for the show today. Thank you so much for your company. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same bale of hay, for yet another exciting episode, another exciting program. of the Country Telegraph, not the Talking Telegraph as I called it once, or a country practice as I've called it several times. It's called the Country Telegraph. Write it down on the forehead. Have a good one. Be kind to your neighbours and be kind to yourself.